Alright, so I'm finally redoing my Darkslide tutorial. This has been well overdue because there's been a a couple things that I've changed a lot in especially in the way that I do the movement after getting the setup. Um and there's been, like kind of a whole new variation on the like redirect at the end of the fan section, which we will cover. But I'll also be going over the setup again. So if you already know how to do the setup, then and you're consistent with it, then you probably don't need to watch this again. But if you struggled with it, then maybe the way that I explain things this time around might be insightful. Because I think I have a little bit of different of a perspective, at least on like the way that I explain things when it comes to this section. So yeah, all right, getting started with the setup. You just want to set up here with make a save like kind of aligned with this light on here, because this is where you're gonna land from this pipe. And the first thing you do is turn on the fan, start running forward and right. Then once you hit around this thing, then I start sliding and I jump just around the edge of this platform. And you basically always want to make sure it's an extended slide hop. Like, I don't think I ever do a regular slide hop here. So that's very important. Make sure you're sliding at least long enough to get an extended slide hop. And then, yeah, it should slam you down. And you just kind of start going into the movement, which we will get to later. But then I want to talk a little bit about like how you adjust your lineup based on where you're positioned. Because that's kind of like the main thing that's difficult about this. So the main things that I use to adjust are my jump timing, either jumping later if I am closer to the like light thingy here, or just closer to this like grate, I guess, when I turn this on. And then also I can kind of take a wider line going into it if I'm closer. So the thing about this is that there's not really like one hard and fast setup or like way to do it that it's gonna hit every time. Like you kind of, unfortunately, you kind of have to feel it out a little bit. You kind of just have to do it a lot and just learn intuitively how to adjust to hit it. But I still want to provide like, here's kind of some things you can adjust consciously to try and help if you're finding that you're struggling with a certain situation. So back to that. Then for the opposite, if you're kind of farther away, you might want to jump earlier and kind of take the line a little bit shorter. Like, I think that was an all right example. And also one thing I forgot to mention is that you kind of, the way that you move here is in this kind of like hooking motion where you're going out right here, and then after the jump you kind of strafe left to hook around and get slammed by the grate. And so that's kind of what I mean by like taking a less or more wide line to kind of delay getting pushed by this fan. And so, yeah, you kind of just have to... Well, one more thing is that also, like, if you're really far back, if you try and move and turn it on at the same time, you're not going to get it. Like, there's no way you can get it if you're, like, back here doing that. So sometimes you also do just have to start running and then turn it on first. And then the opposite is true if you're like really, really close here. you might have to turn it on and then start moving. So I think, yeah, there's kind of those two different ways that I adjust, is like first on just the, like, how far away am I from this grate? I'll either, if I'm in like kind of the middle zone, I'll just do them at the same time. If I'm really close, I will turn it on and then start moving a little bit after. And then if I'm far away, I'll start moving and then turn it on. And then the kind of like the taking it wider and jumping later is kind of the like micro unconscious adjustments more. And also, I think with the jump, I usually never go like jump any later than this this kind of edge. Like I usually jump kind of in this part of the floor rather than on the edge here. I don't know if that matters that much, but I usually end up jumping like here-ish. So yeah, once you kind of get that down, then you can start practicing from down here. I like to just set up a save on this railing, so you can kind of practice like in context how you would be moving into this trigger and then kind of moving out into here. And so the main thing that's important with this is how you jump off of this pipe and like where you land on it. So I try and jump on like the shadow here, and then I usually jump instant and then instant diagonal double jump right, and tap straight just a little bit. And then kind of depending where you are, like if you're really low down, a thing you can do to kind of like give yourself more height is kind of look into this curved wall and like surf up it a little bit. And then if you're a bit higher up, you can kind of avoid that. It's hard to show from just like without doing it in context. So let me see. This is a bit lower, so I kind of have to surf up that a little bit. Let me see if I can get one where I land up higher on the pipe. Okay, so that one was where I was a little bit higher, and I could kind of just let my double jump take me up to here. But the goal here with this is that you're landing directly on the floor without like overshooting it like this. Because it's much harder to do this setup like out of the air. I mean, I still got it there. Like I can still back it up with these like jank situations, like awkward, yeah, scenarios, but like I would advise, unless you're like just really feeling confident, to just, if you overshoot it, just like wait till you land, kind of do quickly set up and then go for it, because you lose like maybe a half a second to a second, but like Darkslide saves more than that, so like for consistency it's a good idea to do that. And even mantling here is better than overshooting a lot of the time. So, just some kind of things to think about with that. Okay, so let's get into the movement now. I'm gonna pull up a clip here. So with this movement, there are kind of two main sections. There is this part where you're like moving through these curved walls in the fan section, and then there's the redirect into these fans. And so there's like two main variations that you can do for both parts of these. So we will start with the kind of most consistent one for both. And that would be the like kick variation, no fizzy fans, no fan boosts. So let's just watch the clip real quick, and then I will kind of go through and talk about what I'm doing on each little bit, because it's much easier for me to kind of commentate this and explain what's going on with the clip, because it goes by so fast. So let's watch through. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do coming out of the setup and the speed gain here is you're gonna try and like get to this wall as early as possible. And then start strafing along it, strafing like away from the wall and kind of turning along it. This you want to hit it as early as possible so that you don't like bonk into this curve. Like hit it while it's straight and then strafe along it. Then once it straightens out, then I do a diagonal double jump, or that might have been a side jump. It's actually hard to tell. Doesn't really matter though. Diagonal double jump and then tap strafe a bit to hit the wall early again before it starts curving. And then strafe along it and then do a neutral double jump. Then once you get to the end of the wall here, I do another diagonal double jump, this time right, to go along here. And then once I hit the end, or like once I, hit the end of this wall, or, you know, just go off of it, I neutral double jump here, hit this wall, and start strafing along it. So kind of a similar thing where you're like, I almost sometimes look right and kind of hook around the curve a little bit. I didn't do it that much here, which it's not that big of a deal. You just want to make sure, you're not like hitting straight. You're not just like going straight over to here and bonking on this wall and losing all your speed. You once again want to like strafe along the wall. Then once you hit the wall, you start holding back a little bit, or here I just tapped back a little bit. And then you want to kind of hit this part of the wall. I usually only drop down to about 140 to like 160 at most. It's kind of more about like where you land here, like slowing down so that you don't like overshoot this part of the wall more than like, you know, the specific speed values. Like it's kind of different each time. But yeah, and then you kick off this wall and tap strafe to the right. And then it gets to the redirect here, which I'll go over now. So in this example, I'm turning off the fans. So then I just turn off the fan, diagonal jump, double jump a little bit before the fan. This isn't something that's like too precise. But you just want to make sure you're not like instantly diagonal double jumping, so you don't like, you know, bonk into this, or like it can kind of help with your line going into the wall to double jump a little bit later here. But it's just kind of a balance between like, you know, having a good line versus like being able to set up for the kick well, because the later you do your double jump, the harder it is to get like a good wall kick timing. So you kind of just have to like figure out where is most comfortable to do it. So yeah, you kick off here. Oh my god, VLC, what the hell? And then double jump and do a double wall kick here, which that's optional. If you have enough speed, you can just cut straight across and avoid this kick. It's a little bit awkward because you have to double jump like right before. So yeah, and then you just go straight to the end. Yippee! All right, so now I've got another clip of the same variation, and I'm gonna try and commentate it real time to review what we just went over. So you hit your Darkslide setup, and then you're gonna start strafing into this wall early, and then strafe out, diagonal double jump when it straightens out, neutral double jump here. Once you hit the end of this wall, diagonal double jump right, neutral double jump at the end of that, and start holding back once you hit the wall. Try and land here and kick off of it, diagonal double jump before you hit the fan and kick. double jump and double wall kick again, or just avoid it if you have enough speed, then go to the end. Cool. So now let's talk about the other variation of the movement, that being the corner bounce. So it's mostly the same, or it's basically the same, up until here, where you're not going to do a neutral double jump on this wall. You're just going to do the diagonal double jump once you get to the end of it. And that's because when you neutral double jump, you kind of, what ends up happening is that you trade a little bit of speed for lowering your height, not having too much height on the last turn. But with the corner bounce, it's very important to keep as much speed as possible into it. More so than your height here, because we're going to do the same thing, but once we get to here, we're going to slow down, but less. And you kind of almost like bounce off of it more than slide along it. So here you can see I'm doing that like hook around a lot more than the previous clips. So you tap back a few times and you end up getting to like 150 at least usually, or is like the least amount that you can keep for this usually, to like high 160s maybe. You're usually around 160. And then you're gonna shoot for this little corner here. This is the corner in question that we're bouncing off of. And you're trying, rather than hitting it directly, you're trying to almost wall bump right before it and then strafe out as you're like getting redirected by it. So yeah, you can see I hit like right before the corner and then I'm strafing out. Okay, I forgot to talk about this when I was initially recording, so I'm kind of coming back to talk about this. On the corner bounce, you're kind of playing a game of like trying to get as shallow of an angle going into this as possible, without going so shallow that you just kind of like glide along the wall, or you just like don't get any redirect. Because yeah, the harsher that you come into this corner, the more redirect you're gonna get, but also the more speed loss you're gonna get. And then the more shallow is like the opposite. You keep more speed, but get less like angle out. So ideally you're sent like towards kind of the middle of the fan-ish. And so that's just kind of something to keep in mind when you're like strafing into here. So yeah. And then with this one, with the corner bounce, I don't think it's really worth it to do unless you're also doing Fzzy fans with it. But I'll also go over how to do it without Fzzy fans, but it's pretty much the same as, you know, what we went over with the kick variation. So yeah, you go out of this, and then yeah, if you're turning off the fans, you kind of just turn them off, and then either you can just wall bump and just kind of take a little bit of speed loss and then go to the end, or you can let go of crouch after you get the corner bounce and then try and kick. So I'll probably like put a clip of me doing that on screen, but yeah, let me see if I can hit a good kick here. Oh, that was actually very good. That was surprisingly. But yeah, like I said, it's not that much more rewarding than just doing the kick with no Fzzy fans, or the kick variation with no Fzzy fans. So I wouldn't really recommend doing the corner bounce if you're not gonna do Fzzy fans with it. But if you are doing Fzzy fans with this, then you're gonna you ideally want to get a redirect that's gonna kind of send you into the fan like this. Like if you get a redirect that like leaves you with like 80 and you're sent at more of like a straight angle going out of this, then you gotta just bail. But in this example, I got a good angle. Then once you start getting like pushed by the fan, then I do a neutral double jump, either holding WAD like you're doing a neutral strafe kick. Like that's the most comfortable way to do this for me, but you could also hold forward, or I think even holding nothing should theoretically be the same. I might be wrong on that. So I don't know. Anyway, I do, yeah, neutral double jump here, and then I spam strafe to the left. And a thing that I've started doing with this is I also spam jump. And let me go back to my game scene so I can kind of show you my input display. So the two main things that this does is both, I find it just comfortable to like mash really fast when I don't have to like worry about not hitting the spacebar. Like I can just kind of move my whole hand rather than like just my fingers up here. So it just makes it easier for me to like spam faster. But it also means that if you get sent, going back to here, if you get sent, what? Okay, we're back. If you get sent into the fan and you actually wall bump against it, you will double jump again and keep going into the fan. Because a lot of the time what happens when you wall bump on this fan is it actually like sends you out and you just like get sent out really fast and you don't have a chance to like keep your speed along here. And so mashing jump can sometimes help you, prevent you from dying in that situation. But here I don't think I had that kind of an angle. Yeah, no, I didn't touch the fan at all there. Then, as soon as you start doing this, you want to turn on the arc tool as well. Here I didn't do it. I have a really bad habit of not turning on the arc fan immediately, so that can sometimes like screw me up because I like turn it on, try and activate it late, and then like it doesn't work, and then I, you know, get sent into this death warp. You also can technically go for breezy fans here. That is only turning off this last fan and also getting boosted by this, but it's pretty inconsistent, and the reward for it is marginally low. Like the peak speeds you can get out of just Fzzy fans or just getting boosted by the one fan is like, I've gotten like 120 or 130 out of it. So like breezy fans can give you maybe like 130, 140 top speed. And it maybe gives you that a little bit more consistently, but you're, you know, dying a lot more. So you can go for breezy fans if you really want, but it seems to be a bit more inconsistent. So probably not worth it. Anyway, for this, you can also kick off of this if you want to. That's what I used to do, but at this point, I just wall bump. I think kicking here is better if you're going a little bit slower. But if you're going like really fast, the kick, you usually just lose speed on it. So I just decided that it's more worth it to just wall bump here. And then the way that I do this last thing is important. So I'm strafing out as I wall bump here. You know, you kind of want to like hit this as at the least harsh angle you can, to lose as little speed as possible. So I'm strafing left, and then importantly, once I go to turn and like deactivate this fan, is that I start strafing right, because if you're holding left, if you're strafing left here and you turn left, you're going to start over strafing and lose speed. But if you start strafing right as you turn left, then it doesn't matter how much you turn left, you're just going to keep your speed. So that's important to like be aware of. And then yeah, you just strafe to the end. Let me pull that up again. An important, or not that important actually, but a thing to note is that I usually like to just slide hop here, just land and then, go through this door frame rather than double jumping. One, because if you get really fast speeds, sometimes double jumping just makes you bonky, or like the lineup doesn't work. And also sometimes I've had my double jump be like weirdly higher than normal, like almost like platform velocity stuff that can troll you. So like if you have the ability to just slide hop here, it's probably a good idea to just slide hop. But yeah, that is the corner bounce Fzzy fans. I'll just show a clip real quick to just kind of see it in full speed, what it looks like. And here's another one that's a little bit faster. So yeah. Now going back to the kick variation, I haven't experimented with this that much, but you also can do the kick variation plus Fzzy fans, which seems like is a pretty viable alternative to corner bounce Fzzy fans. Like if you still want to have like those really optimal speeds and be kind of like competing for top IL times, but you really hate the corner bounce, doing the kick plus Fzzy fans is like seems pretty good. Although I haven't done a whole lot of testing on it. Because it also potentially could be more consistent. Like could be something that I could see myself doing in full game. Like if I were to do Fzzy fans, Darkslide Fzzy fans in full game, I probably would do kick plus Fzzy fans. So yeah, it's something to experiment with if you'd like. But let me pull up a clip of that because there's maybe a few minor notes that I would want to make on that specifically, or doing Fzzy fans out of the kick variation. But let me find that clip. Okay, so I've got a clip of me hitting kick plus Fzzy fans. So let's take a look. Obviously the beginning is just the same. But it seems important to both try and conserve more speed, or like tap back less if you can going into this, and also make sure your kick is really good here so that you can keep more speed. Because like if you're only going like 111 out of it a lot of the time, it can just like not work. So yeah, it's like pretty much the same. It just can be easier to bonk on this. You have to be more conscious of that. But yeah, like I said, this can give you like really comparable times to corner bounce Fzzy fans, just with the cost of like slowing down a little bit more. But it's really not that much of a difference. So if you find this more preferable or more consistent, like go for it. It's probably like 0.5 at most. So yeah. All right, so to round this off, I want to kind of cover some observations, some tips and tricks on like just the movement here generally, and how to like conserve more speed through it. One thing that I've noticed that I do here is that I actually overstrafe pretty much always, because a lot of the time people end up getting kind of turned around on this. Man, if I can just hit Darkslide. They get kind of turned around like this and like end up bonking into the walls. And I think why that happens is people are trying to strafe optimally. And so I realized that I am on the other end where I'm like always over strafing kind of a lot. I think you just want to kind of think about it more as like following along the wall rather than like strafing optimally. But it is a balance, because the more that you overstrafe, the less likely it is you will get like turned around or like bonk into things. But also you will be bleeding speed as you do that. So you want to like overstrafe as little as possible while still keeping up with the walls properly. Okay, so another thing is on this second to last double jump. This one, it's kind of better to double jump later if you can, to kind of conserve more speed, because then you won't. If you double jump earlier, you kind of end up hitting more there rather than like earlier and then you get to kind of strafe along it. But if you do it too late, you can kind of like get this awkward bump and lose your double jump. Like, that was kind of it. That actually worked out, but basically what I'm just saying is that you want to double jump later, but not like too late. So like kind of in the middle of like going off the previous wall and like hitting the next wall. So like, I don't know. Yeah, somewhere around that. And with that, that's pretty much all I have to say. I have imparted all of my knowledge onto you now. Go out into the world and hit some schnasty dark slides.